Okay, well, I'm on the little tripod, and I'm on my test bench, you might say, and I've got I got Gil's chassis here with the axles in and the motor assembled, and no wheels. Okay, so we're cruising, you might say, but I like to do the motor test as soon as I can to make sure everything's in place. I do have the front ball bearing. The back is a oiled bronze, and the new brushes and springs, a cleaned armature, and I can't recall if it's a Pullmore. I do think it's a Pullmore armature, but I like to test this. And what I've been doing lately is with all of these, with the ball bearings in particular, is looking at the volts and amps, and at low speed, and rotate, and is it smooth and whatnot. And so I'm sitting here at 3 volts and 0.6 amps. And I think if you recall the other engines that I've built and I get to this stage, they're all hitting 3 volts and 0.6 amps pretty much consistently with the DC fields and the ball bearings. It seems to be something they enjoy, and so that's good. And then I do a RPM test, right? Now, and everybody complains, you know, this is not Formula One. Okay, but boy, it sure sounds like it, you know, when we're sitting here with, you give it a rip, it just goes. You can see the chassis trying to rotate. The engine is trying to rotate inside the frame, and I'm going from 3 volts to 17. And it really seems to like doing that, which I think is a testament to the low friction. I'm up to 15 volts, 16 volts. I set it on 17, which is about where most of the transformers will be, 17 volts. And we're at, believe this, 0.65 to 0.69 amps. It pops into 7.0 once in a blue moon. That's with no wheels, you know, 0 load. That's just the motor running. It's been oiled, it's been cleaned. It has a ball bearing in front, bronze bushing in back, and a ball bearing in the drive axle. Feels pretty good, sounds pretty good. So I'd say this meets the test as we have it. It sounds a little noisy. I'm not sure if that's the gear, the worm, or what, but I'll look into it as I get further along. Well, it's less noisy off the wood. The wood is sort of like a sounding board. What is it like to rip? Pretty cool. Okay, so that's that test. Engine number 2. We have engine 1, and Leon was 2. He's bumped to 4 now, I think, because I stole his. I wasn't happy with. I didn't want to give him a. If there's one chassis that might not be up to speed, it would be the one I built for him first. It was the first one, so I'm taking it back. I'm going to use it in one of my engines. I'm going to use it in a K5. I have a K5 that he painted for me. I think that'd be perfect, or maybe the Corvette. I don't know, but one of the two. It will be used, and I'll give him a fresh build with the latest and greatest. I'm in contact with a machine shop. I'm trying to get somebody to help me with this axle business, because I am inconsistent. I don't have the tools, and I need to be better. So I'm going to see if I can find somebody that can either help me get better, or they can be better. I don't know which, but we're going to do something about it. So in any case, Gil's up. What I'm going to do now, I suppose I need to move this axle just a tiny bit if I can. It looks like it's off one way. Then I'm going to look at, I guess, mounting the wheels and putting on his adapter for the puff and chuff stuff and the smoke. Should be okay, and I'll try to film stuff as I go. All right, Later, gang. Well, I'm just back for a short trip to show you how I press this gear on and explain what you're seeing here. I'm putting a gear on a shaft, and if you look in between there, if you can look and see in that crack there, you'll see something shiny brass, and that's a little brass screw. It's not a screw, it's really a pin. I've whittled it down so it fits between a groove I machined in the shaft and a groove I filed into the gear. So it's now a key into the keyway, and it locks the gear to the shaft. And what I've done now is I've just positioned the gear to the shaft, and the idea is it's pretty close to being centered because I used my spacers to gauge that, and I have this guy that presses it in. That should be the amount needed to match this side, and this side is it's a little more in than I'd like, but I think it's going to be okay. And now I got to figure out how to get this out. There it is, and it's not great. I'll have to do some adjustments to that gear and make sure it's straight. Oh, I know why it's not straight. I don't have the other bearing in. I took the other bearing out, okay? And it's pretty good. I'm gonna put this back in, and I'm gonna jam that pin in a little more, and then I'm gonna coat it with some Loctite red, and that should help keep it together. Anyway, that's the progress. This is the process I'm going through to lock that gear on. Thought I'd share that with you. Whatever. All right, this is the third engine that I'm building, and its drive is complete. I did it a different way. It's unique. I hope it works. I think it'll be a good way. I was able to shove an entire ball bearing between the spacing. For some reason, this armature just allowed that. Had the room. I have a brass bushing in back, and this is one of my experimental holders, but it's working. I'm going to print a good one, or a newer one. But I was watching the power, and I find that it won't pull. It's not pulling as it was. It just won't. It starts out at 4, and if I lower the voltage to 3.5, it really is weak. But when I crank it up, it seems fine. The problem is, when I get to 17 volts, it's pulling 2 amps. And I thought, that's interesting. The throttle response is pretty good, pretty peppy. But I couldn't figure out why until I started looking at it closer. I don't have the booster magnets in. I only have the arc magnets in. I know, I'm coming! I pulled the boosters out for another engine and didn't put new ones in. So I'm running on half the magnets at 4 volts and 1.2 amps. So I'll put the boosters in, and that'll show you what the boosters do for us. And it's low end, and overall, because the amperes are much lower. But so this is my third engine with the whole ball bearings in front, and DC, half of a DC fields here. The others all have the full field, so it's okay. So they're now ready for wheels, and when I get the wheels on, they're like an engine. And I'll be able to go ahead and put on all the other stuff and complete the engine assembly, and then move on to the tender. So I feel very good about this. I feel I have a very good assembly. I've done it a different way. I'll explain it another time, but I actually put a pin in between the wheel and the axle, and I'll go over the details and I'm going to talk to a real machinist in a few days and find out if he will be able to build these parts for me so that this is done for the next time, or if these fail, I can replace them and put in better parts, more reliable. But I think this is going to work, and I'm happy, and I'm moving forward. So I'll let it go at that. And I've had my call. I got to bring up some unmentionable paper, and I'm also housing the supply store for the Murphy Ranch here. So that's how I get those calls. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.